Okay, so that's now connected up. Okay, Rob, if you want to make a start then.
Great stuff. Thanks very much. Well, evening, everyone. Great to have you with us on our webinar. So my name is Rob Skinner. I'm the project manager for Life on the Edge. Um, and yeah, that's probably all you need to know about that because we'll go into what the project is all about. As Nikki said, we will just kind of give you a bit of an overview of what the project is about, and hopefully I'll kind of bring all that to life. And then we'll dip into more of the specifics, as Nikki sort of said. So hopefully I'll kind of give you a flavour for what the project is all about. So yeah, I'll hand over to Emma.
Hi, good evening. Yeah, I'm Emma Rees, so I am a lead ranger with the National Trust. So I'm just going to do a really quick, brief few words about the National Trust before you delve into the detail of the Life on the Edge project. So I'm a lead ranger, and our team are very lucky to manage land from the edge of Plymouth all the way along the South Devon coast up to the edge of Torbay, for those of you that know the area. Basically, the majority of the land that we look after is within the National Landscapes area, so we work really closely with Rob and Nikki and their team. So two of the apprentice placements are based with us. And the National Trust has a fantastic recently launched strategy of people and nature thriving. So our team have been busy delivering that alongside our tenant farmers. So we're doing lots of big scale woodland creation projects. We've been doing lots of species rich grassland creation and restoration work as well. And then we do lots of the day-to-day estate maintenance work, which the apprentices are very much involved in, and links with your qualification as well. So that includes things like looking after the fantastic Southwest Coast Path. So we cover getting on for 40 miles of coastal farmland. So you're yeah, definitely involved with the Coast Path National Trail. Do lots of other things. We do lots of work with volunteers, community engagement work, survey work. So yeah, very much out in all weathers, which obviously can be a bit more tricky at this time of year, but is fantastic in the summer. So yeah, like I say, two of the placements would be working within our team, helping to look after that fantastic bit of landscape. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Emma. So do we want to put the presentation up on the
Yeah,
page?
have you talked about Sutton in the presentation itself, or do you want to talk a bit about that now?
This is just a little bit on our collaboration with our partners. So well, I can get you that now anyway. So what I say on my normal top slide is it's a collaboration project with lots of different partners. So we've got Bug Life, who is our main collaboration partner, our main partner, our kind of technical input, obviously very species based, and their knowledge about all the species conservation is really, really imperative. And then we've got obviously the support of the National Trust that Emma's kindly sitting on this webinar today. And then we've got Southwest Coast Path that is sort of the major link, the thread that runs through the South Devon coast landscape. And then we've got Doorstep Arts as well that bring the arts expertise into the project. And we've just got Field Studies Council that have just come online with us in a very, very new partnership, and they'll be hosting one of the apprentices, which is sort of a new thing for this group or cohort, as we'll sort of refer to them. So yeah, it's quite sort of a new fresh thing that's just kicked off, and they're based down at Slapton Lee. For those of you that might know that area, so that's a national nature reserve. So yeah, quite a new exciting thing to get involved with. So we'll dive into this one, into the presentation, and give you an overview of what the project is all about. Those are our partners. Just a quick kind of check for our other funders that help us be able to do this project. So as Nikki sort of been name dropping, we've got the Heritage Fund, so the National Lottery Heritage Fund is our major funder. Without them, the project just simply couldn't get off the ground. And then there are a few other funders that are on the bottom of that page, but we're supported by lots of other funders. So, just hats off to them. Without them, we wouldn't be able to get going. So yeah, great stuff. Right, Nikki, thanks for that. We'll dive in if you're good with the next slide. Brilliant. So, um, South Devon Coast is home to one of the most diverse ranges of plant and invertebrate species in the UK. And that's mainly thanks to the climate and the unique geology and a long history of low intensity farming. But many of our species are now in serious trouble, with some facing extinction. So some of these vulnerable and special species are holding on to a thin strip of coast, squeezed by sea on one side and increasingly intensive agriculture on the other. You can see in that sort of photo in the bottom there. Involving people is core to the project, helping them to reconnect with nature, refreshing their sense of well-being, and empowering them to make a difference to the natural world. So our project, Life on the Edge, is hoping to give those special species this critical lifeline. It will help create a coastline and its connected hinterland that is buzzing with wildlife, packed with wildflowers, and be a treat for residents and visitors alike. Because as I say, we've got lucky enough to have £2.24 million that was given to us by the National Lottery Heritage Fund to support this 5-year project, which we're now almost 2 years through. So yeah, we're sort of in the thick of it now. And this is the largest project we've ever secured as an AONB, as we once were named as, or a national landscape team. So it's a huge thing. And the whole project has got this value of 4.4 million. So it's our flagship nature recovery project, and as I say, for the next 5 years, which will end around March 2029. So we've got a long period of time to get lots of these things happening, and we're hoping to be able to deliver a lot of our management plan priorities, which are for nature, climate, people, and place. Next slide, please, Nikki. So, as you probably all have been hearing, we're in the midst of this biodiversity crisis. If we don't take action now, the damage done to biodiversity will be irreversible. And to make matters worse, unfortunately, people are becoming increasingly disconnected with nature. However, not all is lost. By enacting now, Life on the Edge is looking to reverse these negative trends. Working with individuals and communities, we look to restore viable populations of some of the UK's most rare and threatened species, which call South Devon home, by creating, expanding, and connecting important habitats. Life on the Edge hopes to build on evidence needed to support development work, which has been based on Devon special species and the local nature partnership, and will now deliver real landscape scale change. People are really keen to join us on this journey of nature recovery. They're excited by the prospect of getting involved. Our activities will not only empower people to make a difference, but in doing so will feel a greater sense of well-being in a time when so many are feeling overwhelmed by eco-anxiety. Through this program of learning, people will gain new skills and be equipped to make a real difference for our species. So this is our project area. As Emma was talking about earlier, this is obviously the sort of South Devon landscape, of which lots of this area is owned by the National Trust. But you'll see some coloured areas which are our project hotspots, and this is areas where our species are found. We're actually finding that they're hopefully in other areas as well, but this is what our evidence is sort of telling us is where these species are, and that's where most of our concise work is done. So working with farmers, working with landowners, to be able to conserve areas and enhance habitats in those coloured areas. In the hatched areas is what we call the South Devon bee line, and this is where we want to connect up those habitats, because it's no good just sort of conserving one species in one little area. We want them to be able to move throughout the landscape. So we'll be working with farmers at a slightly more distant level, I suppose, or working with partners in other ways to be able to spread our project resources throughout the whole of the coastline. And that's what we're hoping to be able to achieve. It's not all about species though. Just for for note, we've obviously got Plymouth over there in the left of the image, over in the sort of the west of the country, I suppose, on the western map. And then we've got Torbay, which is just sort of sneaking off the top of the map there, which you can sort of see from Nikki's kindly cursor thing there. So working with those large conurbations, we hope to be able to get them out onto the coast. We've also got some other smaller towns as well, which we're really keen to get people out to the coast, see some of these species, and realise why this coastline is really, really important. So I don't want to kind of bamboozle you all with strategies and vision and stuff, but I think it's just worthwhile just reflecting on what we're trying to achieve as part of this project. So we're really all about these 5 segments, and they really kind of encapsulate the main reasons for why we're trying to do this project. So what we want to do is be able to reconnect people with the special wildlife on their doorstep. We're hoping that our activities will refresh people's health and well-being. Our projects will empower people to take action. and our actions will restore viable populations of our special species. And then in its totality, we're hoping that the wider landscape of the South Devon coastline will be enhanced for people and nature. So involving people in the wildlife of the coast is core part of our project and core part of the strategy, and is essential to be able to create this landscape that benefits for both people and nature. And I think we've kind of had it as a bit of a term, but we can't achieve our goals for nature without people, and we can't achieve our goals for people without nature. And it obviously shows that the two are really, really interlinked as part of this project. Yeah, so yeah, great stuff. Next slide, please. So even worse with loads and loads of text everywhere, but our strategy is further enhanced by our targets. And you'll see that there are heavily influenced ones to do with people and lots to do with nature as well. So we're hoping to reach lots and lots of people. So 3,000 people will have engagement with the coast and will help to overcome some barriers. So things to do with transport or whatever it might be. We're hoping to be able to make that an easier process for people to get onto the coast. Lots of people will be involved with the project, either contributing to time through events or activities or volunteer days. So lots of things are going on through that. And then we talked about our empowerment part of our vision, and people will be involved through our learning programs. So we'll be doing things like these apprenticeships. I should say we have 9 apprentices through the whole process of the project. So we've got 3 in post. This will be for a further 3, and then we'll have a further 3 that will be sometime in, I haven't even thought about it yet. I don't want to think about the next intake, but it will be later down the project, 2020. 27 would it be? I'll try to think when it will be. 27 October 27. So yeah, quite a long time into the future. So 9 in total, and then 5 communications assistants, and then we'll have 10 trainees as well. So that's our sort of more formal learning, and then we've got loads of training activities and events coming up with farmers and landowners and community groups, and lots of things are going on. And then, as we were just talking about the health and well-being benefits of our activities, we're hoping to be able to measure that, and that's a real key part to what we're trying to achieve. We want people to learn skills and do new things, but also be able to feel more refreshed as a result of coming on some of our events. Next slide, please, Nikki. So it's also talking about the species. Obviously, this is a key nature recovery project, and we've got 30 invertebrate species we're focusing on and 30 plants that we're hoping to recover for nature. So hopefully they'll be further down their recovery route as we get towards the end of our project, and that will hopefully have some real tangible benefits. We'll be able to see how that's improved working with landowners and farmers across South Devon. It's also really tangible about how much area we'll be able to improve. So we've got quite a few kind of hectareage targets. So we want to be able to create 100 hectares of new donor field or new flower-rich donor field sites, should I say. So they need to be species rich, so lots and lots of wildflowers, which then we can harvest some of the seed from. And that's a really important resource to be able to create more wildflower areas around South Devon. But obviously, they're a food resource in their own right. So it's a really double win there with that one. And then as we get further out into the bee lines, we've got this 1,300 hectares that we're hoping to be able to create more nature-friendly areas. So making them connected throughout the hotspots and be able to, if you were a bee, be able to move across, or whatever insect, move across that South Devon landscape, really, rather than doing things in isolation. And then when people are walking the Southwest Coast Path, we want to be able to engage with those people. So we've calculated it'll be about 900,000 over the course of the 5 years of the project. But really, we're seeing how we can get them involved with appreciating some of the landscapes that they're walking through. Great stuff. Thanks, Nikki. So an inspiration for Life on the Edge and a thread that runs through all elements of our project is the need to do big things for our little species, or our small species, so not necessarily little. Our focus is on the smallest and most vulnerable creatures, which are also less well known and even more neglected as a result. So South Devon is home to 30 species of rare and threatened invertebrates. We're hoping to be able to make better habitat interventions to be able to conserve some of those species. Some of those species are things like Mediterranean oil beetle, where South Devon coast is a national stronghold. So therefore, it's a significant significant proportion of the UK population is in this area. Things like what's on our logo, the longhorn bee. These are regionally important populations. I hope you're able to conserve those with more interventions along the coastline. Or the six-banded nomad bee, which has declined to the point that South Devon is the only place in the UK where it can still be found. In fact, it's more restricted than that. Broad Point is the only place for this species. So there's this real urgency to take action now. We've really risked local extinctions of some of these species if we don't take action. Things like the six-banded nomad bee, could it be extinct in the next 5 years if we don't restore habitat in Broad Point and all the way along the coastline now? So this thing that we talked about before, the beelines, is a real kind of shared endeavour. And we're hoping to be able to work with landowners all the way along the coastline and be able to create some really well-connected, good quality habitats. And working with some really large and well-connected landowners. So things like the National Trust, as we talked about before, other private landowners such as the Fleet Estate, and lots of smaller individual farms across the project area. So we're looking to be able to co-design our solutions, I suppose, to be able to conserve some of these species. And it's really essential that we do that for long-term sustainability and to be able to have habitats that will go long into the future past the end of this project. So one barrier that we've looked at with farmers is being able to deliver for nature, and that barrier is the lack of advice. So we've got a conservation officer that will be working alongside farmers, landowners, and being able to provide that targeted one-to-one or one-to-many advice basis, really. So they're looking to engage with stakeholders up and down the hotspots, but also in between, and be able to deliver for nature along that whole beeline from Plymouth to Tor Bay. So as I talked about before, kind of a key to this is sustainability and the legacy of the project. So farmers need this income from their land, and by supporting applications to agri-environment schemes, we can ensure this work with farmers right the way along past the end of the project for long-term change. And it's also increased our impact. We predict that through this approach, we can unlock almost £900,000 of agri-environment scheme advice to restore nature in our project area.
Okay, I'm going to take over now and talk a bit more about the people side of things. So through our conversations with people during our development phase, which was 18 months, it was clear that people were inspired by the project. They cared about nature on their doorstep and the biodiversity crisis, and they wanted to do something, but they didn't know what to do or how to do it. So, whilst we continue to engage, inform, and inspire more people through our delivery phase, we will also support people and empower them to make a difference through knowledge, advice, training, and funding. And this is where our small grants come in. So, we have 2 grants available. We have community grants, which are up to £2,000 to support community engagement, and conservation land management grants of up to £5,000. But this isn't just available to farmers, it's available to all landowners or land managers. This could be parish councils, community groups, holiday parks, and schools. But it must be for specific or added value works where agri-environment funding does not apply. Once we agree the funding, they have some kind of management or action plan in place that is often a pollinator plan on public land or secured by landowner agreements on private land. In our development phase, we work with our target audiences as defined by the lottery. We have to say who it is we're going to actually target our work at. So we targeted at older, isolated people and young people disconnected from nature. And we trialled activities and engagement which met their needs as well as those of the project. And we did have an overwhelming level of enthusiasm and support for the project. Everyone wanted to be part of it, and it's grown and grown since then. It's a project that really resonates with people, and they can see the tangible benefits of taking part, both to their own health and well-being, but also that of the endangered species. So to make our project a success and ensure legacy, we also needed to focus some work on our additional audiences. We know that our coastline's a really busy place and we need to balance that pressure from residents and visitors with the fragile habitats and communities of species that live there. And also without farmers and landowners, we cannot make a project on the ground at scale. We had thousands of people took part in activities in our development phase, and we were able to work out what barriers people might be facing. This might be about confidence or fear of the unknown. It was often about accessibility and transport to the coast, but also people were busy. There might be time constraints. They might be on their own and wanted some companionship, or they might have eco-anxiety. But most of all, we really found people understood it. They knew the story and they wanted to be part of it. So used the delivery phase to put together an activity plan to deliver for outcomes for people and nature. Our Learning with LotE programme will provide scope for learning right across our project, and it will take on this empowering action to help people make a real contribution to tackling the ecological emergency. They'll gain new skills, knowledge and capacity and inspiration to deliver nature recovery in their communities. So there's a programme of engagement with learners in all settings and opportunities to participate at different levels and progression for those who want to continue their learning journey. So these might be short, fun interactions or longer term structured and assessed qualifications. So the apprentices, the interns and the trainees will all gain on-the-job training and experience with established ranger and national landscape teams paid at the apprentice wage. The roles have been designed following consultation to allow flexibility and support to help overcome barriers. We'll actively target people who are underrepresented in the environmental sector. So we'll also offer a range of opportunities for volunteers. So they might just want to spend time in nature, to meet people, or they might want to actually take action and enhance where they live. They'll be able to access workshops and training and also gain support through advice and our grant scheme. This will help them make meaningful and impactful nature recovery action, but also reaping the health and well-being benefits of being engaged in active outdoors. Then at the other end of the scale, there's also programs of public events, workshops, walks and talks, where people can learn new things or be inspired to take action themselves. They might also join other events to find out more or take part in volunteering opportunities. There's also the more formal learning journeys in school and in alternative settings to help young people learn more about our coastal habitats and special species, as well as deepen their connection to nature. But through all of this, we look at using innovative practice to develop exciting activities and opportunities to engage in meaningful and robust ways, often bringing in artists and specialists to complement the learning led by the LotE team. We can't do it on our own, there's not very many of us, so partnership and collaboration is key to our project. It's also essential for the success of Life on the Edge. We've involved organisations at many different levels and engaged them at various tiers, giving organisations ownership, helping to drive and co-design the project through its development and now in delivery. We've got a core decision-making group of project partners who make up our executive team and an extensive project advisory group, which will be made up of specialists, interest groups and experts. We've also got a fantastic group of delivery partners who will help us reach our target audiences and our activity goals. Through our project partners, we're able to offer these apprenticeship schemes. So working in partnership with the National Trust and the Field Studies Council at Slapton Lee National Nature Reserve, apprentices will be hosted with the National Trust teams at Southdown Farm and Slapton Lee Study Centre. Apprentices will be stuck in, spending the majority of their time working alongside knowledgeable and skilled local ranger teams. I'll be supporting them, and there'll be opportunities for apprentice meetups working on larger pieces of work. For example, there might be a big practical day doing some habitat clearance jobs, as well as being invited to work on project events with the LotE team. The LotE apprentices will work towards a formal level 2 apprenticeship qualification with Sparsholt College. This consists of a 12-month formal learning where they will also gain hands-on experience with the National Trust and the Field Studies Council Rangers. During this time, there's 7 block release weeks to attend at Sparsholt in Hampshire. There, they'll formally learn in a college environment, but in this time, apprentices will also gain their professional qualifications in brush cutter and emergency first aid. So following that formal 12 months, the 12 months of formal learning, you'll also then have 6 months to complete the portfolio of experience. And you'll also have an end of scheme assessment to finish your apprenticeship. During this time, there's set criteria to create a complete learning portfolio. There'll also be scope to work with project activities such as surveys and engagement events, as well as the day-to-day range of tasks. Your written portfolio will not only form the backbone of your level 2 apprenticeship qualification, but also serves as a great piece of evidence to take to future interviews. Apprentices who have completed this level 2 in other areas, as with the National Trust at other areas in the South West, have had high success rates in gaining paid employment. So to get in to join the apprenticeship, there's certain things which are specific to the role on the essential criteria. So you must hold an English and Maths at grade D or level 3 or above. If you don't have this qualification, there will be an opportunity to attain this as part of the college block weeks. It then takes part of your extra work, but you'll need to have attempted this qualification before being able to qualify for your end of scheme assessment. Sparshots College will be able to support individuals through this process. You must be 18 or over for insurance reasons from our hosting partners. And due to the remote nature of some of the coastal project sites, having a driver's license will be really essential and make getting from site to site easier. Applicants with the prior qualification, specifically in countryside management, will not be eligible for the government levy. So regrettably, we can't accept anyone with that specific qualification. You know, if you've done geography or similar kind of ecology qualifications, that's fine, but it specifically cannot be countryside management. What we're really looking for is a good attitude to work within the team and to expand your own skills and knowledge. So we won't be doing traditional interviews where you might just come in and have an hour with the team sat behind a table answering questions. We actually have a selection day, and that's going to be on Friday, the 16th of January, and it will be from 9:30 in the morning to 2:30 in the afternoon. This is a chance for the individuals to meet the team, to ask questions, to get to know one of our project sites, which is a typical of lots of them. And then during that day, there'll be an informal interview chat, really. So there will be some questions that we have to ask because we have to score everybody on there as part of our assessment to make a fair candidate selection. If you think transport might be an issue, we can run lists on the local train station for that. And then lastly, we need everyone to be able to start on the 23rd of February. So we will let applicants know on the Monday who's successful after the selection day. And then we will then put the train in motion within the host authority, which is Southampton District Council, to actually get everybody in and started for the 23rd of February, because then you would go straight into a college block week at Sparsholt. So as I said before, we're hosted, all of the National Landscape team, we're hosted by Southampton District Council, as are all national landscapes around the country are hosted by one of their local authorities. So you need to apply through the Southampton recruitment page. So have a look on our website or look through the recruitment pages or social media for this link. We have put it's on there's a jobs and opportunities section of our National Landscape webpage, so you can find the link there if you search for it. So the application window will close at midnight on the 4th of January. There is no system to take late applications. Once the application window is closed, you can't actually submit. So do make sure you give yourself plenty of time to and get it in before, just in case you have any problems uploading anything. So we thought we would just put a couple of things to think about in your application, because we know that for a lot of people, this is an entry-level job, so it might be somebody's first job. So we just thought it's useful to tell you some of the things that we actually need when we're looking at the application, so that you perhaps know what to put. So to shortlist our applicants in a fair way, we have to use the essential criteria on the job description. And you will see it laid out in a table with essential and desirable criteria. So make sure you use this to help build your personal statement. So you can even use them as titles if you want. We have to score that you have met that essential criteria. So the easier you can make it for us to work that out, the better. Otherwise, we can't kind of try to interpret whether someone's met it. We need it to be quite clear. But also use some relevant examples of how you meet that requirement. That will give you a better score. You can't just say, I have got skills in survey techniques or something. You just need to say, where you did it or when. Just saying you've got it isn't unfortunately enough for us to believe you. And we have to have some kind of examples. But also I know there's a word count and it is tricky, but you need to make your personal statement to the point. So don't worry about putting things about how much you would like the job. You're using really valuable words. So we know that you would really love the job because you're applying for it, which is amazing. So please don't waste your words telling us stuff that's already written in the application. Just make sure you make it really specific about how you meet those criteria. We also don't necessarily need to know about irrelevant skills and experience, but sometimes there might be things that is a transferable skill. So think about how that might work. So if you've worked in retail or hospitality, then chances are you've got really good communication skills, or you're good at dealing with people or dealing with problems. So think about some of those. But quite a good tip is within the person spec, within the employment history, there's room in each of your kind of either paid or voluntary work that you list there. You can put details, a description of the job, so you can list some of the skills that you did in that job in that section, and it doesn't take up some of that valuable word count. But do use that person spec as a framework to help create your personal statement. And please do make sure that you log any volunteer experience within your employment history. Unpaid work is as valuable as paid work. Absolutely. So a little bit about interviews. So we know they're stressful and and we do as much as we possibly can to try to make you relax, but try to enjoy it if you can. It's an opportunity to actually see what's going on, meet the team. We do try, there'll be a bunch of people from the National Trust and from the Field Studies Centre and just chat to people and try to relax and enjoy it. But we want to get the best out of our applicants. You've been selected to interview, so you must meet the requirements needed. The questions that we ask in the sort of slightly more formal chat will be formatted to get to know you better, but also to try and understand your experience. They're not created to try to catch you out or to say the wrong thing. When a question's asked of you, just take a little while to consider your answers before you jump in with the answer. Or you might think about some of the things you might be asked before. So use the job description and think, well, okay, maybe they might ask me about that. What examples might I be able to use? So you can actually, you're welcome to write things down. If you're someone who gets a bit flustered when you're asked a question in that sort of situation, it's not a problem if you just want to make a few notes of things. So, if you lose your train of thought or your brain empties, then having a few examples written down and some notes is perfectly fine. But just a few examples of like how you might have worked on your own initiative, how you might have worked safely, or a particular piece of work or something you've done that you're really proud of and why it makes you proud. This is all really useful stuff to bring to interview. Yeah, I mean, obviously don't come in with a book that you need to then go through trying to find, but just things that just will act as a little nudge to you. So also, you need to remember that the job needs to be right for you as well. So bring some good questions for your interviewers because they'll love talking about the role and the job and the project. So if there's things that you particularly want to know, then make sure that you got some notes on that as well. Okay, so next we will just get on with answering some questions, I guess, if there's any that have come up in the chat, or if not, then we can people can ask. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Yeah,
Okay.
so to kick us off, we've had a bit of a question about the college block weeks. So we've I was going to put something in the chat about that one, but I was just going to say just to quickly run through the dates because I've got them on my other screen. So I was just going to go through the ones that we've got. So just to reply on that question, we've only got them for the remainder of Sparshot's academic year. So there are 7 block weeks in total over the 12 months of your formal learning, but we've only got the 3 really that are here. So they're uh, the 23rd of February. If you're able to, if you did want to write these down, Ross, just thinking to answer your question here. 23rd of February. So there's a week then. There's a week on the 13th of April. And then there's another week on the 11th of May. So those are set by the college. We don't have any say in that. They just, yeah, that's their kind of the formal week. And the way it's happened in previous with our current apprentices is they travel up on the Sunday. Words out in a minute, and then they have learning on Monday to through till Thursday, and then you can travel home on the Thursday afternoon, really after college. So they don't have college on a Friday, for whatever reason. So it just means that your week is sort of shifted forward into the week the weekend before. So it's just something to consider. And then yeah, we'll see how they roll out for the rest of the academic year.
I think it will follow a similar pattern than the autumn term has been this time, where they started at the very end of September with a week, didn't they? Was
Yeah.
it like the 30th of September or so right into the end of September, beginning of October, and then they have another one not long after that. So I think they have a few quite close together.
That's right. Yeah, it looks like the October ones that they did this year. They had one at the very start of it, and then they had one at the end. So it's
Mm.
sort of like, yeah, bookend that month for October, because that's usually when they kick off, because we're starting as a mid-term rather than or a mid-year, so I say sorry, rather than a sort of how they would normally run their placements. So,
Yeah.
and then there's one in November, and then I think February is actually bookended. So we have one at the start of February and then the end of February. So we're catching the end of February one. So that's how they're rolling with that one.
Just
They,
to clarify, so you will be joining there's a group that started in October and then they take an additional group of people in to start in February. So you'll be joining people who've been there since September, but you will kind of do the second half that they're doing first and then the what they've done already next October, September.
Yeah.
they also provide accommodation, don't they? So you don't need to
Yeah, that's
worry
really
Yeah.
about
good.
that as part of it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And then
Yeah.
we've got a travel policy, so you'll get your travel expenses to get up to Sparshot. We kind of encourage you to take as much kind of I say public transport, get trains and things, which are obviously a lot more eco than maybe driving separately or drive together. That would be amazing. Just thinking about our kind of carbon footprint for going up and down to Sparshot, which is in Winchester, so it's quite a distance away from Devon. So just something to kind of think about, really.
There's also a subsistence allowance. So while you're away, the college don't provide food, but there's money that you can claim for your evening meal and things like that.
Yeah. We've had a question about if you can't make the selection day, are we going to run an alternative date or in the following week? So
Sadly not, are we? We're going to be
that's not,
too tight
yeah,
on time.
for sure. Yeah, and we'll get everybody on that one day, unfortunately. So that 16th is sort of set in stone, really, with our partners as well. So as Nikki sort of went through, we've got quite a few people from the National Trust turning up and the Field Studies Council. So yeah, it's the only date that we can kind of do, and we'll have everybody there on site, unfortunately. So that's the one day, hence why we bring it up now, unfortunately.
And I think we're having 10 to 12 people will come on the selection day, and there'll be 3 posts that'll be appointed from
Yeah,
that, isn't it?
yeah, definitely. Aside from first aid and brush cutter, are there any opportunities to gain other tickets?
Well, we
Do you want
don't
me to?
have we don't have any other training budget, so there'll be no other big things like we just can't unfortunately pay for people to do things like chainsaw certificates because we don't have the budget to cover that at all. There
Yeah.
will be opportunities to take part in sort of more informal learning with partners and with the LotE team. And so we bring experts in to help do workshops on insect ID or plant ID. And so you'll be able to join in with that. But also, the Field Studies Council did say that they were hoping to be able to offer the apprentices to join in on some of their field studies centre courses that they run down at Slapton Lee, which ordinarily cost hundreds of pounds. So that would
Yeah.
be a really fab opportunity for the apprentices as well. And then there's all the kind of on the job learning that you do with the ranger teams that you're based with. So no other formal qualification um, allowed within the budget.
We
Yeah.
also do a lot of rural skills in our team. So we have a partnership with Devon Rural Skills Trust. So there's other things like that that you can get certified if you're interested in learning things like hedge laying or walling, and those are definitely doable. I think, like Nikki said, the bigger tickets that are expensive, sadly National Trust has just gone through a big restructure, so our budgets are really tight. But yeah, there's definitely other training opportunities there,
Yeah.
but not necessarily some of those bigger and more expensive tickets.
For sure. Cool. Is there a chance to move into other roles within the project? I.e., can you move from apprentice to a trainee? So,
Well, you can obviously there's nothing stopping you applying. So the trainee roles have been set up. So we design this so that there's three kind of elements to the typical kind of countryside worker, countryside professional role. So the apprenticeship will give you all of your kind of practical countryside management skills. So you can go out and get involved in all the land management kind of jobs and opportunities that are out there. The trainee roles we designed to fill some of those other gaps in. So we have a conservation trainee, and their conservation role is very much based around ecology and surveying and sort of species stuff rather than conservation practical work. So that one is the conservation one, and then the other trainee role we have is a community engagement trainee. So doing all the kind of community engagement side of the project, but in that kind of countryside world. So hopefully people will be able to pick up different skills within those. And the only thing that we do say is that you cannot have had paid work in this field before. So there's nothing stopping you if you wanted to do the apprenticeship, to apply to do the trainee roles afterwards. Nothing at all.
definitely saw them as different tiers, didn't we? And you can kind of move whichever way, but I think we've kind of geared it up to move almost the other way, didn't we, in some respects? But you definitely get different skills from being an apprentice to being a trainee, which
Yeah.
is, a really nice thing that you could, yeah, collect them all, really, couldn't you?
I think it
Collect all those
just gives
skills.
you that kind of extra that other people who have perhaps been doing volunteering and doing more land management stuff, it would give you a little bit extra. But also with all of these things, with the apprenticeship and the two trainees, the most important thing is that you will be getting paid experience, and that takes your kind of employability to another level. And that's why these jobs are all designed to be entry level. They're that kind of helping the door open to more longer term paid employment. That's the plan anyway. Certainly the two trainees we've had already, one of them is working as a freelance ecologist, and one of them is actually doing, well, he's gone on to do a master's in entomology. Um, so yeah, hopefully it will just help with that kind of next step.
Yeah. And I don't want to kind of blow our own trumpet, but I think we offer something that other apprenticeships probably can't offer. We've got Emma here from National Trust. We'll be working with the Field Studies Council. Those are our two main partners to be able to deliver this apprenticeship, which you wouldn't normally get with just a single organisation with an apprenticeship. You'd only be working with one organisation. You're working with 4 here. And you'd be working with many more that you've seen that are partnered with the project. So yeah, you'll be possibly be able to work with lots and lots of different organizations that you can put that on your CV at the end of your 18 months, which will look absolutely fantastic, that you've obviously got paid employment to work with all these different people, learning from huge amounts of people and with lots and lots of knowledge base. So it's
I think
a
I
good
think it's
opportunity.
worth perhaps just mentioning as well, these are countryside worker apprenticeships, so it is very much geared around practical countryside management. So, there's the bigger LotE project with all this other stuff going on, but your job as an apprentice is going to be geared up around that countryside and site management role. We have got plans for how we integrate the apprentices into other work that LotE's doing as well. And having the Field Studies Council is going to add another kind of level to that sort of opportunity. And certainly over the sort of summer months, and then there will probably be there will be a day a week where the apprentices will go out with our conservation team doing surveys over that kind of April to October period. So there's definitely like links into all the LotE work, but it is primarily site management, countryside worker qualification. So it's worth bearing that in mind that you will be out in the middle of winter in a hopefully not too many days like today, but working out on the coast, doing all
Yeah,
that
so
really important work.
yeah, the countryside worker qualification really sets you up if you're interested in a career as a ranger or any countryside management work, because you'll learn about different habitat management, restoration and management of boundaries. So, like I said before, things like walling and hedging, woodland creation work, that all that day-to-day stuff that rangers do of looking after footpaths and repairing steps and learning how to put a gate in. And it's really varied, but it is very much practical based. But then you've also got this fantastic link in to the National Landscapes LotE project, where you're also learning about surveying different wildlife, and a lot of that is obviously quite seasonal. So you may find in the winter you're out doing more practical work, and then in the summer you're doing like maybe a day a week helping with survey work. So yeah,
Mm,
like Nikki said, it's very much focusing on whether the countryside worker experience and qualification is something that's the thing that you're keen to get alongside the invertebrate sort of habitat management.
mm.
Cool, great stuff. And then we've got a very quick question just on driver's license. So our electric vehicles, we've got 2 electric vehicles in the project. They're all automatic. So if there is an opportunity where you would be driving the vehicle, that would be an automatic license would be fine on that. Where you're working with the trust, if it's deemed possible that you could drive their vehicles, I know that they would all be manual. They don't have any of the automatic options. So yeah, it would have to be a sort of discussion really as to what we would need to be doing. I think a manual license would definitely be a better license to have than automatic. But yeah, that's something we can kind of look at if it comes around probably.
Yeah, I wouldn't let that put you off applying.
No.
Someone's also asked about whether you need a car. And my answer to that would be the biggest reason will need a car is to get to where you are working. Unfortunately, well, wonderfully, these sites are in the middle of beautiful countryside. Unfortunately, the public transport to get you there is pretty shocking. I think you could get there for an hour and then you'd have to get the bus back again. So the biggest thing about your own car is to be able for you to be able to get to site. Once you're there, it depends whether, if you can, you might be going out with one of the rangers anyway, so you'd be in their vehicle, so that that you might be driving a vehicle out in work, but it's also how you get there sometimes you might not start on the same site each day, you might be going to a different base to work from. So it is more about you being able to get around, really.
Yeah,
Good.
most of the ranger bases and the field study centre are, sadly sort of fairly isolated in terms of public transport. But again, if you're keen on the placement, then still put an application in, and we're looking for strong, enthusiastic candidates. So it's it's not like a deal breaker, but I think like Nikki said, it's about being realistic as to where we're sort of based.
Yeah, I'm just well, one of the things we've been speaking to the Field Studies Council, and there is a potential that they could offer some accommodation. I'm just checking to see if I've received an email, and I haven't today. So yeah, so they do have, because they're a residential centre, they have two houses which they rent out rooms to their staff and their longer term volunteers, or they have had an apprentice there before as well. But they have said that they have got definitely one for the apprentice that will be based there, should it be wanted. But they have also got another one, so they could provide accommodation for two people if they needed to relocate to do this post. And that will be at a really competitive rent. Unfortunately, South Devon demands quite high rental prices. If you can, sometimes it's hard to find somewhere to rent, which, but we've obviously got people, trainees and apprentices that have done that. They've relocated to the area. But the Field Studies Council charge out accommodation at a really reduced rate that I think is currently 20% of your annual salary. So I think that works out about £280 a month. And that would be for a room in a shared house with access to kitchen. So yeah, that's a brilliant opportunity for people who want to actually live within the area where they're going to be working. So potentially two are available. So when people come to they are invited to the selection day, we will be asking people then, would you be looking for accommodation?
Yeah, very good point. Cool.
Okay.
So,
Has anybody got any other questions they would like to ask? If you do, then you're welcome just to speak up or turn your microphone off. I've not made it so you can't turn them off. So does anybody have anything else they would like to ask before we finish up? Nope. Okay, that's great. So we'll send you out the link.
I think Sophie might have just taken her microphone off.
Go on then, Sophie, sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, I just wondered, because I'm a 53 and a half, and I guess you'd call me a career switcher. So, and I'm just wondering, would I be, and it doesn't matter, would I be unusual in that? Is it mostly young, like high school graduates? No.
No. One of our apprentices now actually toured the world drumming for 10 years before she decided to switch roles. Did some volunteering, really fell in love with countryside work, and did a lot of volunteering and then applied for the apprenticeship and got that. So yeah, she's a great example of someone who's completely had a career change. So no, don't let it put you off at all. I think the main thing, as we said before, is about your enthusiasm to learn and your keenness to get involved and to, kind of get as much from the opportunity as you possibly can. So absolutely,
that sounds good.
Very welcome.
Yeah, I just, because the physicality of the job, like I think I'm up for it, and I'm weightlifting. So I just want to make sure that I would still stand a chance, I suppose.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely, if you do. And interestingly, when we get the application forms, we don't see all people's personal details, so we don't know how old you are when you apply.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Although we knew now, Sophie.
Well, I'm proud of it.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we've spoken to quite a lot of people who have who are looking at it because they're interested in changing career, which is absolutely fine.
My follow-up question, just because, so realistically, is there much chance of paid work outside, on the other side of it? Are there opportunities?
Do you want to get that one, Rob?
Yeah, can do. I mean, Emma from the trust has probably got a better exposure to seeing some of the ranges coming through. Previously, I used to work for the trust before I took this job on, so I do know of some of the things that are dropping through, and I know they've got a really good uptake of some of the apprenticeships going through the National Trust scheme. and
Okay.
then ending up as rangers, before they went through a sort of a restructure process. But we probably know of quite a few rangers that have entered into this line of work, don't we, Emma, that have come from apprentices, or what they used to call a careership type
Yeah.
areas. So yeah, it sets
Yes.
you up really, really well.
Yeah, I think
Great.
because of the qualification and length of the placement as well, it's a really good,
Yeah.
you come out, you're just job ready when you come out of the apprenticeship program. I mean, the apprentices we have at the moment are the first ones we've had through this project, so
Hmm.
they're great, and I'm sure they will go into work, so we can't sort of say for them. But previously we've had what we called long-term volunteers that sadly didn't get any wage, but volunteered with us for 6 to 9 months for 3 to 4 days a week, and we had over 90% success rate of them gaining employment or
Well,
going
that's great.
into a degree afterwards. I think the job market's really tough at the moment,
It is. Yeah.
sadly, but
Yeah.
you've
Yeah.
got 18 months, and I'm sure hopefully things will be on improving by then. But yeah, it's a really good way of setting you up into a career. And I think also, like Rob said, because you've got this experience of working with different organizations, you can like
Yeah.
really take the bull by the horns and make the most of that, and use that to generate lots of networking and opportunities for yourself.
Well, it sounds wonderful. Thank you.
I mean, what
Over.
we don't have is any paid roles within the project at the end of
Mm,
this. This is
No.
all
Yeah.
about those sort of door opening opportunities.
mm,
But I think the other thing that's worth bearing in mind is, a level 2 apprenticeship isn't a massively high qualification, and
Hmm.
actually the qualification level isn't the important bit. I think what you sell it on is the fact you have had 18 months paid works experience,
mm,
and that's
Yeah.
what will help you get the next job.
But I was also
Mhm.
really
absolutely.
impressed with seeing some of the apprentices' portfolios, or hearing about it. You've got a real body of work there that you can really call on. And you go to the
Mm,
interviews and you go,
Hmm.
here's a load of experience that I've got, and I'm able to do this, 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 and it's really backed up. I think, getting to that
sure.
interview stage and being able to have that body in front of you just to go, this is what I've done. An employer would be mad not to take you on, if as long as
Mm.
you're meshed, and work well with them. But, that's going to put you head and shoulders above a lot of those other candidates that are entering in without any of that experience. So I think that's a real selling point as well.
Mm.
Okay, has anybody else got any questions before we finish up? Fab. Well, there you go. We managed within our hour, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Oh, there
There
was
we
just
are.
one from
Oh,
Fiona about another group of apprentices at a later date.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, sorry. Yes, so there'll be our third cohort of apprentices, as Rob said, will be starting in October 2027.
Seven.
That way. And they will work through until March 29, which is when we all finish. That's the end of the project, which is a bit scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if this timing isn't good for you, or if you weren't successful, there will be another opportunity, and we'll be recruiting for those probably starting in July time in
Yeah, probably would be, wouldn't it?
2026.
Maybe end of June, maybe definitely
Mm.
midsummer of that year,
There
which
will
seems,
be a trainee post being advertised in
it,
February to start in
yeah,
1st of
April.
April, at the
Yeah.
beginning of April.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're not already on the Life on the Edge newsletter mailing list, drop us an email back to that email where you signed up for this, and we can add you to that, because we always put all our vacancies on that newsletter as well, and then you can just keep up to date with what's going on. It's called the Bee's Knees, and it comes out roughly once a month. Okay, everybody done, I think. Okay, well, thank you all so much for joining us tonight, and good luck with your applications. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me an email, or if any way we can help out, we will. And we look forward to seeing some of you, hopefully, at the selection day. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks all. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.